Caitlin Clark is shaking up the WNBA like no other rookie has before, and coaches are finally giving her the recognition she deserves. Her incredible skills and competitive spirit are making waves in the league, pushing teams to rethink their strategies and praise her talent, even if it's a bit grudgingly. So what's the buzz around Clark? With coaches comparing her to legends and scrambling to contain her on the court, it's clear she's more than just a player to watch. She's a force to be reckoned with. Let's dive into the excitement. It's official. WNBA coaches are finally talking about Caitlin Clark, and they're not holding back. This young basketball star has completely shaken up the league, leaving opponents scrambling to contain her while fans can't get enough of her thrilling style of play. From seasoned head coaches to former WNBA legends now at the helm of teams, Caitlin Clark's name is on everyone's lips, and they're not shy about acknowledging her impact. She's only just begun her WNBA journey, yet her presence is already forcing teams to adapt, strategize, and even praise her talents, sometimes through gritted teeth. What coaches are saying about Caitlin Clark. Caitlin Clark is no longer just a rising star. She's a force to be reckoned with, and the WNBA has taken notice. As she settled into the league, Clark's impact has only grown. Opposing teams are rushing to figure out defensive strategies that might slow her down, but that's easier said than done. With some breakout performances, like scoring 30 points in a game and coming close to a triple-double in another, Clark is proving she's more than capable of handling the WNBA's challenges. Her coach, Christy Sides of the Indiana Fever, can't help but be thrilled to have her. Christy describes Caitlin as the most competitive human being she's ever met, and even compared her to legendary player Diana Taurasi, known for her fierce dedication. Christy notes that Clark's competitiveness and leadership are game changers for the Fever. As Caitlin builds chemistry with her teammates, the team's timing and connection on the court have visibly improved, thanks largely to her. Sides praises how Clark drives her team's success, leading them with an almost relentless focus. Seattle Storm's Noelle Quinn is another head coach who's been quick to acknowledge Clark's exceptional talent. She sees Clark as a generational talent with a skill set that sets her apart. With her height, at 6 feet, Clark's court vision and basketball IQ are just on another level. Noelle applauds her phenomenal shot-making, as well as her ability to adapt to different types of defensive pressure. She points out that Clark has both confidence and a competitive fire that make her a nightmare for defenses. To put it simply, Noelle Quinn sees Caitlin as a total game changer. What makes Caitlin Clark so special on the court? It's not just raw skill that makes Caitlin Clark special, it's how she approaches the game. Las Vegas Aces coach Becky Hammon, who is a 6-time WNBA All-Star and is known for her straight shooting style, couldn't stay quiet about Clark. Hammon is well respected, and her opinion carries weight, especially as a former player herself. Hammon backs Clark's influence in the WNBA, dismissing all those rumors about tension or hostility toward her. She's candid, saying she watches every time she can because Clark has genuinely upped the game's level. Becky's message is clear. Caitlin Clark's presence is good for the league. Meanwhile, Phoenix Mercury's head coach Nate Tibbetts offers his own in-depth analysis of Clark. What stands out to him is her dual threat ability. Caitlin isn't just a shooter, she's a strong passer too. Tibbetts explains that Clark's mix of shooting and playmaking abilities means she can pressure opponents in multiple ways. He predicts that as she gains experience, her passing will only get sharper, making her even harder to guard. Tibbetts sees her getting better with every game and believes she'll eventually become unstoppable as she learns to deal with even more complex defensive tactics. Then there's Sandy Brondello of the New York Liberty, who's seen Clark's game up close during matchups. Sandy acknowledges that Clark has faced plenty of challenges stepping into the WNBA spotlight as the top draft pick, but she also praises Clark's adaptability and high basketball IQ. Brondello even cites specific examples, mentioning how Clark scored 20 points in her first game, a major feat for a rookie, but was held to single digits in another. Despite that, Sandy sees her as a quick learner who's going to keep growing as she faces tougher defenses. It's a balanced take that recognizes both Clark's strengths and her potential. Coaches share their thoughts on Caitlin's skills and how she handles defense. When it comes to understanding Caitlin's technical skills, a few coaches have offered their thoughts on the details of her gameplay. Los Angeles Sparks coach Curt Miller, for instance, gives a nuanced opinion. While he recognizes her talent and passing abilities, He also subtly emphasizes his team's defensive work against her. Miller points out that while Clark still managed to score, much of it came from free throws. His comment hints at the difficulties of defending against her without fouling, an acknowledgement of just how tricky it is to guard someone like Clark. Kurt's team, after all, managed to hold Clark to limited shooting opportunities in some moments, but Caitlin's adaptability kept her finding ways to score and make plays. Over with the Washington Mystics, head coach Eric Thibault provides another perspective. Thibault highlights how difficult it is to guard Clark, especially as she learns to navigate screens and hit tough shots even under intense pressure. Eric shares that defending her requires extra attention to detail. She's capable of hitting contested shots or creating space for herself off screens. Clark's ability to read defenses and adjust makes her a unique challenge for his team. To him, she's not just a scorer, but a multi-dimensional player who keeps defenses on their toes. Across the board, coaches note how Clark forces them to change their usual game plans. Many emphasize screen navigation and the importance of one-on-one coverage against her. However, even with meticulous planning, Clark's scoring and passing often break through. This season, she's shown a knack for spotting open teammates or making tough shots despite heavy defensive pressure. Each of these coaches is finding that their usual strategies just aren't enough. How Caitlin Clark is changing the WNBA and women's basketball. Beyond the on-court action, Caitlin Clark is having an impact on the WNBA as a whole, drawing fans, boosting attendance, and attracting sponsors in droves. For many, her popularity echoes her college days, where she was a major fan favorite. Her reach has even extended to people who weren't previously following the WNBA. Coaches and analysts alike credit Clark's talent and personality for injecting new excitement into the league, helping to increase viewership and sponsorships. Dawn Staley, head coach at the University of South Carolina, has witnessed Clark's effect firsthand. After her team defeated Clark's Iowa team in the 2024 NCAA tournament, Staley publicly thanked Caitlin for lifting up women's basketball. She praised Clark's ability to carry the sport's popularity from college into the professional sphere. For Dawn, Clark represents something bigger than the game. She's a unifying force who has brought more eyes to women's basketball. Staley's perspective is particularly telling, as she could have focused on her own team's accomplishments, but instead chose to highlight the lasting impact Clark brings to the league. Media buzz and how coaches feel about Caitlin's rise to fame. With all the buzz around Caitlin Clark, the media can't resist stirring up stories, and not all of them have been positive. Rumors have circulated about jealousy or hostility from other players, but coaches like Becky Hammon have shut those down, emphasizing that the WNBA is a competitive league and that it's all about the game. Becky dismisses the idea that there's any real animosity, calling out the narrative as exaggerated. She suggests that focusing on Clark's incredible skills would be much more worthwhile than stoking drama. Interestingly, some coaches show respect for Clark in subtler ways, especially those who are facing her on the court. Curt Miller, for instance, while downplaying her scoring against the Sparks, essentially praises her ability to challenge his team's defense. It's a familiar theme with these coaches, many of whom are acknowledging her influence without directly calling attention to her success. Miller and Washington's Eric Thibault both imply that Clark's skill level forces them to raise their defensive game, highlighting her impact indirectly by how much they adjust their plans to face her. Even when coaches are being diplomatic, it's clear that Clark's dominance is shaking up the league. She's forcing coaches to rethink their defensive approaches and pushing players to meet her level. For some, like Miller and Thibault, that means indirectly praising her by stressing how difficult it is to hold her back. Respect from rival coaches, how they view Caitlin's game. A handful of coaches have used a more subtle approach when talking about Caitlin Clark, especially when their own strategies come into question. While Curt Miller and Eric Thibault were careful with their words, their praise is hard to miss when they describe the unique difficulties Clark poses on the court. Miller, in particular, talks about his team's efforts to limit her while giving credit to her persistence. And Eric Thibault's breakdown of Clark's movements around screens and tough shot-making speaks volumes about his respect for her game. A few other coaches have also indirectly recognized Caitlin's brilliance by discussing her offensive dominance. They acknowledge that in trying to contain her, their defenses are pushed to their limits. It's rare to hear opposing coaches so openly grapple with a player's skills. And it speaks to the reality that Clark is a next-level talent. By indirectly highlighting the challenges she presents, coaches are confirming what everyone else is seeing. Caitlin Clark is a player worth watching, and she's only just getting started. What do you think makes Caitlin Clark such a standout player in the WNBA? Share your thoughts in the comments. And that's it for today. Hit the like button and subscribe. Stay tuned for more and catch you at the next one.